Hey everybody, what's up? How's it going? Robin here. Once again, today we're going to be learning about functions, and I'm going to show you guys how useful functions can be for creating cool little things in Python. Now, we've already covered functions already. You may notice that the simple print function, like the print one that we covered earlier on, this is actually a function. This is a pre-made function in Python that we can use to print this text to the page, right? We hit play. You can see it says this is a function. So this is a pre-made function. The cool thing about Python though is that we can actually make our own functions. We can make custom functions and make them do whatever we like. And the cool thing about this is we can do this to actually stop ourselves from repeating code. And you'll see once we make this cool little password protector script, or function I should say, how much easier it is to just call that function instead of typing out the code every single time you want to use it in a script or something like that. Or if you want to use it multiple times in a script, right? So I'm going to cover the syntax of a function first of all, and again, this is kind of getting into more of the intermediate kind of complicated part of Python, but just kind of bear with me. Once you kind of get the syntax understood and you understand how functions work, it's not that complicated. In fact, they're pretty basic, but you just got to kind of give it a chance, and we'll go through this really slow. So first of all, we can define a function by putting the keyword def, or define, right, short for define, and then we make our function name. So I'm going to call it password protector. So password protector. And next up we make the parameters. And the parameters are basically going to be like flexible variables that we can use in our script. And again, once we actually call the function and use it, you'll see how this actually really works. But for now, just kind of bear with me. I'm going to type in password. Okay, so that's going to be our flexible parameter basically, so to speak. And we'll start the script. Oops, we got to put our semicolon. So now the semicolon is saying that, okay, this is the start of the function block, and then we're going to run the code inside her. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be answer. I'm going to make a variable called answer. Let's go answer is equal to password. Basically what this is saying is that the answer, like our secret answer, so to speak, is equal to password. And again, like as we work through the script, you'll see what I mean. Next thing we need to do is we actually need to prompt the user and ask them basically what is the secret password, right? So we can go input, what is the secret password? What is the secret password? And we need to actually store that as a variable, right? Because we're going to use a conditional statement to check to see if they actually put the right answer in here. So let's use a variable. We can maybe call it user submission or something along those lines, right? You could put user answer or user, oops, sorry about that, user submission or anything you want. I'm going to go user submission just to keep it simple here. But again, you could use whatever you want. So user submission equals input what is the secret password. So in other words, we're prompting the user, asking them what is the secret password, and then we're storing their submission or their answer into this variable called user submission. Next thing we can do is actually check to see if they're putting in the right answer, right? So we can go if user submission is equal to answer, then run our code. And again, answer is going to be the actual password. Again, I'll cover how this whole thing works in just a second. We're just gonna go with our conditional statement here. So if user submission equals answer, we can do something like print you may enter. And I'm going to make a variable called result, and we'll give it true. And basically what this is just saying is like, we could use this result later on in our script and do whatever we want with it. I'm just kind of just using it for now just to say that, if the user gets the answer correct, now we have a variable that says it's true, and then we can, do something later on with our script with that if we like. For now, we're just going to be printing to the page, which is just kind of something simple, right? And then we'll go else. I mean, as you get more with Python, you could add a lot more cool things with this, but we'll just go like this for now. And then we'll go print. And we'll say you may not enter. May not enter. And then the result will equals false if, for whatever reason, they don't get the right answer. So true. So that's basically our function. It looks pretty good. And then next thing we have to do is call our function. So let's exit here. And we can go password protector. You see it already remembers it for us. Put our parameters here, and what this parameter be is whatever you stick in here will actually be the password, right? Because basically what this is turning into, it basically turns into the answer, right? So answer is equal to password. So whatever we type as the parameter is going to essentially be the answer. And then our script is going to check the user submission for that answer. So we can put whatever you want here. And this is the cool thing about how flexible functions are and how easy they are to use after you create a function, right? So instead of typing out this code every single time we want to make a password protector, all we have to do is type out this and then put the secret password we want in here. So let's call the password secret, for example. Let's say we want it to be secret. And this needs to be in quotes. Go quotes here. Alright, so let's save our document and see if everything's working correctly. Let's hit play. And it looks like we have a syntax error somewhere around here. So our else has a syntax error. Invalid syntax line 9. Let's see what we did wrong here. We have if user submission equals answer. That's correct. That's correct. Result equals true. Else. Oops, this is supposed to actually be back here. Right, there we go. So now, right, because if, else, and then run this. So we had a little bit of a syntax error there. Let's hit play. So what is the secret password? Let's check it to see if it's working correctly, right? So we check that first. So secret. Oh, cool, look it. We actually may enter now. Sweet. Let's say, let's test it again and see if we got the wrong answer to make sure that's working. So let's go wrong answer. And it says you may not enter. So that's pretty cool, right? So now this basically checks to see if the user is submitting the right password. And again, to show you guys the flexibility here, we can take this and change this to whatever we want it to change to. So let's change it to top secret. We save our document. Now if we hit play, if we type in secret, which was the previous password, you can see it's not correct anymore. We actually have to type in top secret. So this is the power of functions, how we can change things on the fly and add a lot more flexibility to our scripts in Python. And again, if we want to call this function, we only have to do this line of code. You know, we could call this multiple times throughout a program. And again, we don't have to type this out every single time. We do need to define the function at the top of our script, otherwise it won't work. But once we already define it, we can just call it and use whatever parameters we want. If we're using multiple parameters, you can separate them with a comma. So that's something you can also do, but we only have one parameter in this simple example. And again, let's go over the code really quickly just so you guys understand everything. As my cat's trying to get on my desk here. Def define password protector. Again, we're defining the name of a function, and then we're having our first parameter, which is password. Next up, we're making a variable called answer, and we're equaling it to the password. So again, the answer of the program is equal to password. User submission, which is the user's answer they're submitting, we're prompting them and then storing that in this variable. Then we're checking the user submission to see if it is equal to our answer up here, which again equals our password. And then if it is, we do this first block of code. If it's not, then we do this block of code. And again, you could be flexible. You could do whatever you want with these if statements, but this is just a simple example here I wanted to show you guys. And again, this is a pretty basic function. You can see here that this is a little bit confusing, but once you kind of get the syntax, understand and whatnot, you understand everything. It's really not that bad, but functions can be pretty complicated as you get more advanced with Python. But this is basically how functions work in Python. What I highly recommend you guys do is, after you finish watching this lesson, is try to make your own function. Even if your function does the same thing as like a print function or does the same thing as any other functions we covered, at least if you make your own, you can have some practice doing it that way, and then you can add some flexibility to it as well. So I highly recommend you guys do that. If you guys are still having troubles with functions, just leave a comment or leave a question or something like that, and I'd love to help you guys out. So I hope you guys liked this video. I hope it kind of showed you the basics of functions. When you're ready to move on, we'll talk more with functions.